Love, attraction, connection. These are the cornerstones of human relationships. But what truly defines a successful relationship? Why do some love stories flourish while others fade into heartbreak? Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of relationships through the lens of AQA A Level Psychology. Whether you're in love, searching for it, or healing from it, this video will give you the knowledge to build healthier, stronger connections. Number 1. The science behind love. Biological foundations. Love. It's a word that carries the weight of poetry, history, and personal experience. But beneath the grand gestures, the stolen glances, and the electric touch of a lover's hand, there is a complex scientific process at play. Love is not just an emotion, it's biology in action. It's chemistry, neuroscience, and evolution working together to create the most profound human experience. So let's dive deep into the science behind love. What is really happening in our brains and bodies when we fall in love? What makes love so intoxicating, so powerful, and sometimes so painful? And why does love have the ability to shape our entire lives? It all begins in the brain. When you see someone you're attracted to, your brain doesn't just casually process that information. It reacts intensely. The hypothalamus, a small but powerful part of the brain, sends signals that trigger the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This rush of dopamine makes you feel euphoric, excited, and even obsessed with the person you're falling for. It's the same chemical that floods the brain when people take addictive substances, which is why love can feel so overwhelming, even consuming. But dopamine isn't the only player in this love story. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, surges during moments of intimacy, when you hold hands, hug, or share deep conversations. This hormone is responsible for bonding, trust, and deep emotional connections. It's the reason why long-term couples feel an unbreakable attachment, even when the fiery passion of early love settles into something calmer and more stable. Then there's serotonin, the neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood. Interestingly, in the early stages of love, serotonin levels drop, which is similar to what happens in people with obsessive-compulsive disorder. This explains why new lovers often can't stop thinking about each other, why they replay conversations in their minds, and why they feel an almost irrational need to be close. And let's not forget adrenaline, that pounding heart, the sweaty palms, the nervous excitement you feel when you see someone you're in love with. That's your body flooding with adrenaline and norepinephrine. Your fight-or-flight response kicks in, not because love is dangerous, but because it's exhilarating, unpredictable, and intense. But love isn't just brain chemistry, it's also deeply rooted in human evolution. Why do we fall in love in the first place? Why do we seek out long-term partners instead of simply reproducing and moving on? The answer lies in our biology. Unlike many other species, human babies require years of care and protection to survive. Evolution favored individuals who formed strong emotional bonds because those bonds led to stable families, which increased the chances of survival for their offspring. In other words, love isn't just an emotional experience, it's an evolutionary advantage. Yet love isn't always easy. Heartbreak, rejection, and loss are just as much a part of love as passion and joy. When love is lost, the brain reacts as if it's experiencing physical pain. The same areas that activate during physical injury, such as the anterior cingulate cortex, light up when someone goes through a breakup. This is why heartbreak feels unbearable, why it can physically hurt, and why people often struggle to move on. But here's the remarkable part. Just as the brain can recover from physical wounds, it can heal from emotional ones too. So what does all of this mean for you? It means that love is more than just a fleeting feeling. It's a powerful force, shaped by millions of years of evolution and deeply embedded in our biology. It's why we crave connection, why we seek out the one, and why love, despite its risks, remains the most sought-after experience in human existence. Understanding the science of love doesn't make it any less magical. In fact, it makes it even more profound. Because love isn't just something we feel, it's something we are wired for. It's the reason we write songs, create art, and cross oceans for the ones we cherish. It's the foundation of our families, our friendships, and our deepest joys. And that in itself is extraordinary. Number 2, attachment styles. The key to understanding your relationship patterns. From the moment we take our first breath, we are wired for connection. Every relationship we have, romantic, platonic, even professional, traces back to the way we first learned to bond with others. And whether we realize it or not, those early experiences create patterns that shape how we love, how we trust, and how we handle intimacy. These patterns are called attachment styles, and understanding yours is like unlocking a secret map to your relationships, past, present, and future. Imagine this. You're deeply in love with someone. The chemistry is undeniable, the connection feels strong, but over time, something starts to feel off. Maybe you find yourself pulling away, afraid of losing your independence. Maybe you feel like you're always chasing them, wanting reassurance that they won't leave. Or maybe you're caught in a cycle of pushing and pulling, never fully sure where you stand. If any of this sounds familiar, it's not random, it's your attachment style at play. Psychologists have identified 4 primary attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and fearful avoidant. And while these styles develop in childhood, they don't stay there. They follow us into adulthood, shaping how we respond to love, conflict, and emotional closeness. But the most important thing to know: your attachment style is not your destiny. It's simply a blueprint, one that you can understand, challenge, and even change. Let's talk about secure attachment. This is where love feels safe. You trust your partner, you communicate openly, and you don't fear emotional closeness. If you had caregivers who were consistently loving, responsive, and made you feel valued, this likely shaped a secure attachment. As an adult, you're comfortable giving and receiving love without constantly questioning it. You can handle conflict without fearing abandonment. Your relationships feel like a safe space rather than an emotional battlefield. But what if that's not your story? What if love has always felt a little more complicated? Enter anxious attachment. This is when love feels like a roller coaster. One moment, you're on top of the world. The next, you're drowning in insecurity. If your early caregivers were inconsistent, sometimes present, sometimes distant, you may have learned that love is unpredictable. And now, as an adult, you crave closeness, but fear that the people you love will leave. You might overanalyze their texts, feel anxious when they don't respond right away, or constantly seek reassurance. It's not because you're needy. It's because deep down, you learned that love isn't always stable. But here's the good news. Recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking it. Then there's avoidant attachment. This is when love feels suffocating. Maybe growing up you learned that emotions weren't safe. Maybe expressing vulnerability was met with rejection or indifference, so you became self-reliant. Now, as an adult, you keep your distance in relationships. You value independence to the point where intimacy feels like a threat. When things get too close, you pull away. You may even convince yourself that you don't need love, but in reality, it's not that you don't want connection. It's that you fear the loss of control that comes with it. And finally, there's fearful avoidant attachment, also known as disorganized attachment. This is when love feels like a paradox. You crave closeness, but you also fear it. You want deep connection, but you don't trust it. If you grew up in an environment where love was mixed with fear, maybe caregivers were unpredictable, loving one moment and hurtful the next, you may have developed this attachment style. As an adult, you find yourself stuck in a push-pull dynamic. You want intimacy, but as soon as you get too close, you feel the urge to retreat. It's exhausting, and it can make relationships feel like an emotional minefield. So, what now? What do you do with this information? The truth is, your attachment style isn't set in stone. Awareness is the first step. If you recognize patterns in your relationships that don't serve you, you can start rewriting them. If you tend to be anxiously attached, you can practice self-soothing instead of seeking external validation. If you're avoidant, you can challenge yourself to stay present in moments of emotional closeness instead of shutting down. And if you're fearful avoidant, you can work on trusting that love doesn't have to be a cycle of pain. At the end of the day, love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about understanding yourself. It's about knowing why you love the way you do and making choices that lead to healthier, deeper connections. Because the truth is, no matter what attachment style you have, you are not broken. You are not destined to repeat the same patterns forever. You have the power to heal, to grow, and to create the kind of love that feels safe, secure, and real. Number 3. The psychology of attraction. What draws us to each other? Attraction, one of the most mysterious and powerful forces in human relationships. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant connection, like an invisible thread pulling you toward them? Or maybe you've seen a couple that just seems magnetically drawn to each other, as if the universe itself conspired to bring them together. But what's really happening beneath the surface? Why do we feel drawn to certain people and not others? Is it purely physical, emotional, psychological? Or is there something even deeper at play? Science tells us that attraction isn't random. It's a complex interplay of biology, psychology, and even our past experiences. Our subconscious mind picks up on cues we're not even aware of, shaping who we find irresistible and who we don't. Sometimes it's their eyes, the way they move, or the sound of their voice. Other times it's their confidence, their kindness, or the way they make us feel safe. But the real question is, why? Why are we drawn to some people more than others? And more importantly, what does this mean for our relationships? One of the most powerful factors in attraction is familiarity. Our brains are wired to seek out comfort, and nothing feels more comfortable than what's familiar. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that people often end up with someone who reminds them of a parent or a past love? That's not a coincidence. Our subconscious craves what it knows, even when we're not consciously aware of it. This is why childhood experiences shape our romantic preferences so much. If you grew up around kindness and warmth, you're more likely to be attracted to those qualities. If chaos and unpredictability were part of your early life, you might find yourself drawn to relationships that feel oddly familiar, even if they're not healthy. But attraction isn't just about the past. It's also about chemistry, literally. When we're around someone we're attracted to, our brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical that creates excitement and pleasure. It's the same chemical that surges when we experience something thrilling, like riding a roller coaster or winning a game. That's why relationships that start with adventure, spontaneity, or even a little danger often feel so intense. Our brain associates that rush with the person, making them seem even more irresistible. Another fascinating element of attraction is body language. Without even realizing it, we send signals to those around us, subtle cues that indicate interest, confidence, and compatibility. A lingering glance, an open posture, the way someone mirrors our movements, all of these things trigger unconscious attraction. In fact, studies show that people who mimic each other's gestures and speech patterns tend to feel more connected. It's as if our bodies speak a language that our minds haven't even caught up with yet. Then there's the power of mystery. Have you ever been drawn to someone because they weren't easy to figure out? The human brain is wired to crave the unknown. We're naturally curious, and when someone doesn't reveal everything at once, we lean in, wanting to know more. That's why people who maintain a little mystery, who don't overshare, or who keep a part of themselves reserved, often appear more attractive. It's not about playing games, it's about creating intrigue. But attraction isn't just about what we see or feel, it's also about what we believe. If we think someone is attractive, we start to notice more things that reinforce that belief. This is known as the halo effect. When we perceive one good quality in someone, like intelligence or kindness, we automatically assume they have other great qualities too. That's why confidence is so magnetic. When someone believes they are attractive, others tend to see them that way too. It's not arrogance. It's the energy they carry, the way they walk into a room, the way they look at you like you matter. And let's not forget the power of emotional connection. At the end of the day, physical attraction fades, but emotional attraction is what keeps relationships alive. The deepest, most lasting bonds come from feeling truly seen by another person. When someone listens to you, understands you, and makes you feel valued, that creates a level of attraction that no perfect smile or chiseled jawline ever could. It's why the most fulfilling relationships aren't based just on looks, but on shared experiences, deep conversations, and the ability to be vulnerable with each other. So, what does all of this mean for you? It means attraction isn't just fate. It's something we can understand, cultivate, and even influence. By being aware of what draws us to others and what draws others to us, we can build stronger, healthier, and more meaningful relationships. Attraction isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about authenticity. The most attractive thing you can ever be is yourself, confident, open, and unafraid to connect on a real level. Because in the end, the most powerful kind of attraction isn't just about chemistry, it's about connection, and that's what truly makes us fall in love. Number 4, the investment model, why we stay in or leave relationships. Why do we stay in relationships, even when they're tough? Why do some people leave so quickly while others hold on, believing in something deeper? Love isn't just about emotions, it's about investments. And today we're diving deep into the investment model, a psychological theory that explains why people commit to relationships or walk away. Think about the time, energy, and emotions you've poured into someone. Maybe it's been months, maybe years. You've built memories, shared secrets, laughed together, cried together. That's an investment, one that's not easy to walk away from. The more you put in, the harder it is to leave. But is that always a good thing? Psychologist Carol Rusbult introduced the investment model, saying that commitment in a relationship isn't just about love or attraction. It's about 3 key things: satisfaction, alternatives, and investment. Imagine you're in a relationship where things aren't perfect, but you've spent years together. You've helped each other grow, maybe even built a home or raised kids. You've invested so much that the thought of starting over feels impossible. But here's the twist. What if you're not happy? What if deep down, you know this isn't where you're meant to be? That's where satisfaction comes in. Are you genuinely happy, or are you staying because it's familiar? Many people remain in relationships, convincing themselves that every couple has problems, when in reality, they're just scared of letting go. And then there's the idea of alternatives. If you left, what would life look like? Are there better options? Not just another romantic partner, but a better version of yourself? A life where you feel free, where you rediscover who you are. Sometimes we stay because we fear the unknown. We think, what if I never find love again? What if this is the best I'll ever get? But here's the hard truth. Fear of being alone is not a reason to stay. A relationship should add to your happiness, not drain it. And yet, many hold on, believing that their past investments mean they must continue, even when the relationship is no longer fulfilling. Picture this. A woman spends 5 years with a man who slowly stops making her feel special. He's not abusive, not cruel, but he's distant. She tells herself, he used to be so loving, maybe it'll come back. But months turn into years and she keeps waiting. Why? Because she's invested too much to leave. She's given him her time, her love, her patience. Walking away feels like losing everything she built. Or think of a man who's been with someone for a decade. They share finances, friends, even pets. But deep down, he knows something is missing. He's not unhappy, but he's not fulfilled. Yet he stays because, how can I throw away 10 years? This is the power of investment. It traps us. It makes us believe that leaving means failure, that all those years were wasted. But what if the real waste is staying in something that no longer brings joy? Now let's flip it. Why do people stay in happy relationships? Because their investments feel worth it. They see returns, love, security, support. They're satisfied. They don't feel like they're missing something better. They feel safe, cherished, appreciated. The investment pays off. So here's the big question. Are you in a relationship that gives back what you put in? Or are you stuck in something just because you've been there for so long? Commitment should never be about fear, obligation, or guilt. It should be a choice to stay because you want to, not because you feel you have to. Love should never feel like a trap. So, if you're questioning your relationship, ask yourself, am I here because I'm truly happy? Or am I here because I'm afraid of what happens if I leave? Because at the end of the day, your happiness is an investment too, and it's one you should never neglect. Number 5. The dark side of love. When relationships turn toxic. Love is supposed to be warm, comforting, and safe. It's supposed to lift you up, make you feel seen, and bring you peace. But what happens when love isn't love anymore? What happens when the very thing that was meant to bring happiness starts to hurt, suffocate, and drain the life out of you? That's the dark side of love, when relationships turn toxic. At first, everything feels perfect. The laughter, the long conversations, the feeling that someone finally understands you. You feel special, cherished, and maybe even invincible. But then, ever so slowly, things start to change. Maybe it's the way they begin to criticize you, little by little. It's not direct at first, just small comments about your choices, your friends, your dreams. They mask it as concern, but deep down, it stings. You tell yourself it's just love in disguise, that they just care too much. But deep down, something feels off. Then comes the control. It doesn't look like control at first. It looks like protection, like love. I don't like how they talk to you, they say. I just think you should spend more time with me. Slowly, your world shrinks. You stop seeing the people who once mattered. You stop doing the things that once made you happy. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that this is what love is: compromise, sacrifice. But love isn't supposed to feel like this. Then the fights begin. Not the normal disagreements that all couples have, but the kind that leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, terrified of saying the wrong thing. One minute they adore you. The next, they tear you apart. Their words cut deeper than any wound ever could. They twist reality, making you doubt yourself. You're too sensitive, they say. You're overreacting. So you stay quiet. You start believing that maybe it's your fault, that maybe if you just loved them better, they'd be kinder. Maybe if you changed, they'd finally be happy. But toxic love is never satisfied. It keeps taking and taking until there's nothing left of you. Until you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself anymore. Until the person you once were, the person who laughed freely, who dreamed boldly, feels like a distant memory. And yet, leaving feels impossible. Because even in the worst moments, there's always that tiny glimpse of the person you fell in love with. The one who held your hand and made promises. The one who swore they'd never hurt you. So you hold on to hope. You tell yourself they'll change. That if you just love them enough, they'll remember how to love you back. But here's the truth. Love should never feel like a war. It should never leave you feeling small, broken, or afraid. The right love won't make you question your worth. It won't isolate you, control you, or make you feel like you have to earn it. The right love will feel safe, steady, and free. So if you find yourself trapped in the dark side of love, I need you to hear this. You deserve better. You deserve a love that builds you up, not breaks you down. You deserve a love that doesn't just promise to be different, but actually is. And if you have to let go to find it, then let go. Because the right love, the kind that heals instead of hurts, is still out there. And it's waiting for you to choose yourself first. Number 6. How to build a strong, lasting relationship. Building. A lasting relationship isn't just about love. It's about effort, commitment, and emotional resilience. To start, the key is self-awareness. Before connecting deeply with another, you need to understand yourself, your needs, boundaries, and emotional triggers. When both partners know themselves well, they bring their best selves to the relationship. Next, communication is crucial. It's about speaking honestly and, just as importantly, listening without judgment. Emotional intimacy grows when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and truly hear one another. But it's not just about words. Actions matter too. Small, thoughtful gestures like a kind text or an unexpected surprise show love and appreciation in ways that words sometimes can't. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. Without it, there's no solid ground. Be reliable, honest, and always show up for your partner emotionally. Trust is built through consistency, especially when times get tough. Relationships are never perfect, and disagreements are inevitable. What matters is how you handle conflict. Approach each challenge with respect, seeking to understand rather than win. Healthy conflict resolution strengthens the bond between partners. Finally, a lasting relationship thrives when both people support each other's growth. Encourage your partner's dreams and passions, and continue to evolve together. A strong relationship is about growing as individuals while building a shared life. Building a lasting relationship takes work, but the rewards are immeasurable. Focus on self-awareness, communication, trust, healthy conflict resolution, and mutual growth, and you'll create a bond that can last a lifetime. Relationships aren't just about emotions, they're about psychology, biology, and choices. Now that you understand the science behind love, ask yourself, what kind of relationship do you truly want? If you found this video valuable, like, share, and subscribe for more insights into relationships and personal growth.